It's so easy to view God as sort of this rule giver in the sky and Christianity as just a bunch of do's and especially don'ts. Is there a better way to think about it? Today we'll use the Ten Commandments as a model of how commands can become promises. And if that's intriguing, well, we'll talk about it some more, and that'll kind of lead our discussion today. This is Season 3, Episode 18 of Unhurried. I'm Doug Kyle, Vera Rayamontes. I almost called you Vera Rayamontes.
That's awesome.
This is Ryan Viramontes,
Hey.
and I'm Kai Duggle. And we're here today. I've never messed that up.
I know. That's funny.
That's what I'm going to call you, Vera Ryan Montes.
I like it.
I like it, yeah.
Let's go.
Anyway, Brian is back. You're not fired after Cindy.
I'm not.
Substituted last week. So
I know some of you are disappointed.
Well, I know people did enjoy having Cindy on.
Of course.
That was great. But
My favorite introduction, speaking of introductions, was that you were like, Ryan's not here. He's sick or whatever, but my beautiful bride. I'm just like, okay, like I can't live up to those standards. Come on now.
Well, of course not. Of course not. Yes. Well, but you're back, and we, feels more normal now. Though it was really fun having Cindy on the podcast.
That was great.
Today we're going to do sort of a one-off, and just got back from vacation, so and we're launching a new series this coming Sunday. So we got a little bit of a one-off today, and I'm excited about it. What we're going to kind of discuss together, our conversation.
Sure.
Rather than the idea here with our podcast in general is rather than just sort of racing ahead and letting life kind of take the reins and our schedules rule the day. We want to have these times when we just slow down, have this unhurried conversation around God and His truth, and engage our lives with the Bible, with faith, and to see how that really fits into the everyday world that we live in. And today I want to talk about how easy it is to view God as a rule giver in the sky, and how there's probably a better way to frame it. But even before we get there, I just want to ask you, how was your weekend?
It was good.
Yeah,
Yeah. We had a great weekend.
Anything new to report?
Let's see. Anything new to report? Not really. We're in the kids clinched their championship game about a week ago now.
Really?
Yeah. So we're back in the championship.
Uh-huh.
So it's
So
coming up this Sunday.
They clinched getting into the championship.
Yes, they clinched getting into the championship that would be 2 weeks ago now.
Mm.
And so this last week, we still had a game, but we already knew, point wise, we're going to the championship. So
Yeah.
So I've played in multiple championship games before and have won, have also lost some.
Not bragging, just
Not
saying.
bragging.
I mean, that sounds a little bit like, well, of course, I played in many championships myself.
I've been in many championship games before. Okay.
Just drop that one in there, but it's good. Good. Impressed.
Yes. But I've never been this nervous.
For your kids' championship.
I literally have been texting my assistant coach almost every day going, I've never felt this nervous before,
Yeah.
And the kids have been in a championship game before and have won. That's where the two sides of every puck,
Expression came from.
Right,
yes.
that's where it came from when I was trying to explain to them, we might not win. But I was just, an assistant coach, and now I'm the head coach.
Yeah.
And now it's like I feel all the pressure, and I'm so nervous.
Yeah.
I've never been this nervous before.
See, this is what it's like being the lead pastor. Welcome to my world. I feel all the pressure.
That's so funny you said that, because I was talking to a buddy of mine, and he's like, "Are you a pastor?" And I was like, "Yeah, but we're the worship guys. Like we barely get in, into the pastor club."
That's funny. That's funny. Well, you know what? I can relate to you a little bit more on the kids in the championship.
Yeah.
Since I guess this is kind of just a moment to celebrate our kids' achievements.
Sure.
This last, I guess it was over the weekend,
Right.
our grandson, his baseball team won the championship.
Nice.
And we got a picture of him with a trophy.
Oh.
But it was so cute. He's 7.
Right.
They got championship rings.
That is cool.
So they got these big old gaudy plastic rings that they're wearing as their championship rings. So they got the whole thing. It was just
That is very
cute.
cool.
Yeah.
That is cool. I like that.
So that's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it might be downhill from this point on. You know,
I mean,
you never know. You can't peak too early.
You can't peak too. I mean, when he's 17, is he going to get close to a championship? Probably not.
Yeah, exactly. But enjoy it now.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's cool. That's exciting. Well, let's get into it. It's easy to view God as a rule giver in the sky, and easy to look at Christianity as just a bunch of do's and especially don'ts. But is there a better way to think about it? So I want to use the Ten Commandments as sort of a model for this, because if anything kind of is often misinterpreted as, well, God's just a bunch of do's and don'ts. It's the Ten Commandments. That's what people, it's posted on walls and plaques, and you see it. And the impression you get is that God is really big on do's and don'ts. As a matter of fact, if anything, mostly on don'ts. Don't do this, don't do that. But I want to show that even in the Ten Commandments, which sort of capture that mentality, it really is a much more positive view of our relationship with God than we really see. That the Ten Commandments are not merely rules for life with God. They're really a vision of the kind of people that God is forming us to be. And so I want to kind of have a little conversation about that. Did you ever have what was your first impression of the Ten Commandments? Do you remember just having an idea of them when you were a kid?
Okay, this is a funny story, but don't judge too hard.
Okay. No judgment here.
My mom is kind of a little bit of a movie buff. Like, she just loves watching and specifically older movies, right? And she also has a great sense of humor. My mom has a really good sense of humor, and she's really funny. And my uncle is also really funny too. And so my first impression, the first memory I have, and I don't remember what the movie is, but I know it's a Mel Brooks movie where he's walking out and he goes, "These are the 15 commandments." And then one of the stones breaks, and then Moses goes, "These are the 10 commandments." That's my oldest memory of it. And I have to, like, as an adult, remind myself, like, Ryan, you're not 12 anymore. Like, you're not a child anymore. You need to grow up. You know what I mean? But so I'm sorry. I apologize.
He's juggling like 3
Yes,
tablets.
I don't remember what movie that is.
I know what you're talking about too, and I know our listeners know. They'll tell us.
Yeah, they'll tell us.
They will tell us what movie we're talking about.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about too,
Right.
but I'm not sure what that's from.
And I'm 100% sure, or not 100%, but I'm pretty sure, like, it's a Mel Brooks movie too.
I think that's right.
But I can't remember what movie it is.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny.
It's very Mel Brooks humor,
Yes. Yeah, that's great. I remember when I was a kid that I think I went to Vacation Bible School. I know I went to Vacation Bible School, but I think this is where I was introduced to it. I went to Vacation Bible School around the block. There was this church that this dear woman, her name was Belva, I can't remember, Belva DeWitt.
Wow.
Belva DeWitt. If anybody is related to Belva DeWitt, please tell me. She lived across the street. I was a little kid. She was, in my mind, ancient. She probably was. And she invited me to the church around to the VBS.
Yeah.
And I went to their Vacation Bible School. I got my first Bible.
Nice.
She signed from a gift from Belva DeWitt. So I got a case for it and everything. And then I'm pretty sure this is where I got this little plastic ring that, speaking of rings, it was this plastic ring that if you look through it, there was a little like window on the top of it, and if you look through it, it was a magnifying glass, and it had the whole 10 Commandments written in there, so you could see it. And you'd be carrying the 10 Commandments around on your finger. So that's my first impression, was this kind of cool little toy that I had.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Way better than mine.
And I think there were 10. There weren't 15. There were just 10 on my
Yes,
list.
yes, yes.
Yeah. But I still didn't know what to do with it. It was
Right.
King James. It was thou shalt.
Right.
First of all, thou shalt. Thou shalt not. I don't know what that means.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
No one says that. So
No.
that was my impression of the 10 Commandments. Let's talk a little bit about them because it's easy to get the impression, and maybe even if our listeners don't have this impression because they're listening to us and hopefully they're tracking with us, but their friends may have this impression. There's people in your life that think of this way about God, that God is just a bunch of rules, and especially don't do this, don't do that, as if he's trying to mess up our fun. So let's look at it a little more deeply. The 10 Commandments, first of all, I want to say this: they begin with grace, not with demands upon us. Before God ever says you shall do this or you shall not do that, he begins the 10 Commandments this way, and this is almost always overlooked. He begins by saying, I am the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt. He begins with a reminder of his salvation. And that is so important. This was a result of their rescue. It was the benefit of being rescued by God is that he is now giving them these principles to live by. It's not like if you want to be rescued, you have to live up to this. It's because I rescued you, because I saved you, because I redeemed you. Now you're invited into this relationship with me where there are principles that now make sense. And so it is a result of God saving us, not the what we have to do in order to get saved. In other words, God doesn't say, obey me, and then I will rescue you, I'll save you, I'll redeem you, I'll bless you. He says, I have saved you, I have blessed you, I have brought you into my family. Now, since you've been set free, here's how free people live. This is the way my desire for you, my plan for you to live that way. So it's so important to realize that the 10 Commandments are couched in this expression of salvation. It's a result of salvation, not how we get saved. Does that make sense?
For sure. Yeah. Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. And like I also think too that it's like you were saying, like it's kind of like a contract of like I saved you guys from all this evil stuff and persecution at that time, and these are just the rules, not the rule. I guess the rules, but like
you could say that, but it's more. It's keep going.
Right.
It's a good way to put it.
That's what I'm saying. It's like just the contract of like this is how I'm going to solidify you as being different and set apart in the world that we live in.
Yes.
It's just a contract of I rescued you, you realize that I rescued you, and these are just my rules that you have to abide by.
Yeah, this is the response to what I've done for you. And contract is a good word because really the biblical word is covenant, but we don't use covenant that much. But really, covenant is basically a contract. It's an arrangement. It's a relationship.
Yes.
If you think about it, contract seems maybe legal and technical, but really all it is describing the relationship. This is how our relationship works. Covenant, maybe one of the best examples of a covenant today is marriage. Marriage is a covenant where you come together. You both say, I do. This is what we're committed to. And God initiates the covenant with us. He says, I am going to rescue you. And now that I've rescued you, I'm inviting you into this relationship where this is how it makes sense for you to respond.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. So it's a beautiful contract covenant relationship that he invites us into. It's the result of being rescued. I don't think I knew that when I was looking into that ring, that magnifying glass ring as a kid. I didn't know that these were the result of being brought into God's family. It was easy to get the idea that, now this is how I have to live, and to feel almost fearful if I break one of the commandments.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So it's and you could be kind of relieved if you almost, getting back to your illustration of your first experience, you're kind of relieved that there were 15 and now it's down to 10. It's like, yeah, let's eliminate as many as possible. Can we make it 7? I be easier if it were just 3.
Right.
The idea is the fewer there are, the less cumbersome it is, because there's less that I have to keep. And in reality, the 10 Commandments are just linked to a number of principles in Scripture and instructions that God gives us. And the more He gives us, the better off we are, because they are intended for our good, not for, to kind of keep us out of trouble and to ruin our fun.
Right. I find the Bible to be, and especially, God's lessons for us, to be so practical the older you get. When you're younger, you do feel invincible in a way, and you also do feel like there's just rules all the time. You can't do this and you can't do that. You have to be home by this time and you have to do all this. But then the older you get, you realize those aren't just rules. They're safeguards is what they are.
Yes.
It's like you feel like you're living in this world that has bumpers everywhere. But the older you get, you go, oh, wait a minute. Those aren't just bumpers. Those are just lessons that I should learn by, and realize that other people have gone down those roads, and it leads to destruction, where God sets us apart from the world and just gives us rules and commandments, but also it's wrapped up in grace and in love.
Yes,
and He doesn't
yes.
want us to have all of those struggles. He wants us to prosper,
That is such a good way to put it, and that's exactly what I'm hoping that our viewers and listeners are starting to capture here, is this really much more positive view of why God gives us commandments and instructions in the Bible, because He wants us to thrive.
Yes.
He wants us to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
He knows that this is the best path for us. Have you ever bowled?
Yeah. Yes. Not well though.
Yeah, me neither. I'm not a good bowler at all.
That surprises me.
Why?
Because you typically are good at things.
No, I'm not.
Athletic things.
Wow. Could you just save that clip? I would love to just play that over and over again.
I played multiple games. I played cornhole, and like we have a frisbee golf thing here. Like
yeah.
Yeah,
no, I'm not good at bowling,
That's
but
surprising.
and I've never really used those bumper things.
Right.
But that's what came to mind when you were
Yeah,
talking. I
yeah.
kind of pictured those inflatable. I think they're inflatable or whatever.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
they put down the alleys when you're learning to bowl, so that the ball would just kind of bounce off the alley and then go back. And I kind of almost had that picture of what you're describing, is that God's trying to protect us from going into the gutter. Really, kind of literally, want to avoid us from having bowling, having a gutter ball, and so He puts these boundaries on us. He puts these things on the side to kind of protect us, and you can hit that, but then it puts you back into the lane again.
Right.
If that's his goal for us, is to kind of keep us on track. And guess what? If you have some of those bumpers in place, you'll actually hit some pins.
Mm-hmm.
You'll actually you'll do well, rather be a little bit more successful than you would. I imagine I can picture a little kid just learning to bowl and having those inflatable bumpers in there and just throwing the ball down the lane. What do you call it in bowling? Lane?
I think you call it a lane, yeah.
Lane.
I don't know. You were using like gutter and out. I was like, oh wow, he does know a lot. Yeah.
Throwing it down the bowling lane,
Right.
And having it sort of zigzag off from side to side, right? Like just bounce over here like a pinball, and then end up getting a strike. Going down the middle. I can kind of picture that, and that's a great picture of what God wants. He wants to put these boundaries and these barriers and these protections in place for us so that we can be more successful.
Yes, and not to rule over us or not to just put all these restrictions on us, but to allow us to bounce back, right?
Yes,
where He's like, you're never too far away, that you can always bounce back.
Yeah. I can imagine taking like a Sunday school class or something to the bowling alley, and it'd be a good analogy.
That would be a good analogy.
Yeah,
that is pretty good.
Let's go look at
this.
this.
Way to go.
Okay. Yeah, maybe VBS will do that this summer.
You should become a pastor with these analogies you got.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see. See if that works out for me. The time will tell. All right. So the first thing is just to realize the context of the Ten Commandments. They're in the context of salvation and they're a result of being brought into God's family. The next thing, and I think this is just really eye-opening, is the Ten Commandments are really about love. If you think about it, Jesus summarized the entire law with 2 commandments. He said it's love God, love your neighbor. If you do those 2 things, you've captured all the commandments. Paul said pretty much the same. Love is a fulfillment of the commandments. And so we see this over and over again, especially in the New Testament, the idea that the commandments are there to really lead us into love. Love for God, love for one another. You can actually naturally divide the 10 commandments this way. The first 4 of them are about loving God, and the next 6 are about loving one another, loving your neighbors. And so Jesus was really, in many ways summarizing all of the Old Testament instructions and commandments, but certainly a way of looking at the 10 commandments when he said those 2 commands really capture them all. The first 4 commandments: don't have any other gods, don't have any idols, honor God's name, and keep the Sabbath. Those are all an expression of loving God, the way we love him. And that's the way God wants us to succeed, by not having other gods, by not having idols, by honoring God's name, which is really more about honoring his character and living in a way that represents him, and keeping the Sabbath. All of those were ways we love God. And then if you think about the next 6, honor your parents, don't murder, don't commit adultery, don't steal, don't lie, don't covet. All of those are relational commandments that have to do with how we love one another. And so the commandments are not these kind of random restrictions that God just kind of threw out there. Sometimes you look at them and go, well, why those 10? And not, aren't there some other things that would be good to keep in mind? But if you start to order them this way, you see how they really capture, all the 2 most important relationships we have, God and others.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so. Yeah, I've been using your... to go back to the series we just ended, I've been using your abide and abound a lot.
Okay.
That really stuck with me that last series, and I've noticed it, just in the last month or so since we just wrapped the last sermon series, that it's very true. It's very practical in the sense of you abide in God and you will abound, right? You'll be fruitful in that, and same with the 10 commandments. It's you love God and then you love people, and that's the order it should go in. And sometimes it's not bad to, and we've talked about this before, but it's not bad to love people or love something a lot. That's not a bad thing. It's just sometimes the priorities or the order's not correct.
Right. Right.
To fully love people, you have to fully love God first, and then that's where it goes.
You've really captured something that I think is important here, and that is not only can you divide the 10 commandments into these 2 areas, loving God and loving others, the order is important.
Yes.
The first half is about loving God.
Right.
The second half is about loving others.
Right.
And putting that in the right order is really critical too.
Yes. Yeah. I agree. That's that kind of reminded me of the last series that we had. That,
same thing. Abide comes before abounding.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's okay to be fruitful. It's okay to have these things in life. It's okay to love people a lot. But if you don't love God first, then the order's not right.
I don't know if you ever felt this way. When we were expecting our second child, you felt like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to love this child as much as we love. I mean, we love our firstborn son so much. Is there any way we could possibly love another child the way it just felt impossible? It's like, I have just spent all the love I possibly have. I didn't know I could have this much capacity for love, and it's just poured out in this single child. And then you have the second one. You go, guess what? We have just as much capacity for the second one as you had for the first. And the same is, sometimes people think, well, if I love God so much, I'm not going to have any love left over for others. And just the opposite is true. The more we love God, the more love we have for others as well. Love isn't a commodity that we spend.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, well, I've got a full tank of gas. If I use up 3/4 of it, I'm only going to have 1/4 left. It's just the more you have, the more you spend, the more you have.
Yes.
When it comes to love.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would jokingly tell my mom that when we were growing up, that she loved us, my brother and I, too much. And that she needed some more kids because it was too overwhelming.
Too overwhelmed. This smothering. You're just smothering us. Have some more kids so we got a little space.
I go, can we please just, and me and my young self, she's like, Ryan, that's not really how it works,
Yeah.
but, okay,
Yeah.
So then she adopted, kind of some of our friends, eventually and stuff like that. Like we had a buddy that lived with us for a little time period and everything. So I was like, thank the Lord. I was like, at least we can spread the love around.
Right. Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. Well, so I think that's just kind of circling back to this kind of next idea, and that is the 10 Commandments are really an expression of love. They're how we love God and how we love others. Again, a very different way than people think about it. Each one of the commandments are designed to protect a relationship, either protect our relationship with God or protect our relationship with other people. And then the next thing that you notice when you look at the 10 Commandments is that every no actually protects a greater yes. So, for example, don't murder. When you say don't murder, we're saying yes to life. It's not about just don't kill people. It's about value life, protect life, enhance life, celebrate life, and expand life. What leads to the most life-giving thing you can do for someone? That's really the opposite. Don't steal. Well, it's saying yes to generosity and trust. Instead of trying to take things, you're really living life where you're open-handed and you're willing to give things and to trust one another with the things they have. Don't commit adultery is a yes to faithfulness, being faithful to your spouse. Don't lie is a yes to truth and integrity. Don't covet is a yes to commitment, to contentment, and gratitude. I think of all the commandments when I was looking into that little ring of mine, I probably didn't know what adultery was. I thought it was like, don't grow up, Don't commit adultery. Just stay a kid, Don't be
Peter Pan forever.
Yeah, don't be adult. Don't be, kind of the innocent way to look at that. And then don't covet. Like, what does that mean?
Right.
I have no idea what covet means. But when you get into it, you realize that covet is such an important commandment, the 10th commandment, because it really captures so much. And it's not just like, I think the commandment talks about your neighbor's donkey and,
Right.
things that would have been possessions back then, but it's really about so much in life where we can live our lives as if only I had a little bit more, life would be better.
Right.
If only what they had, life would be better. If only look at all the blessings they have in their life, but this commandment is a reminder to say yes to contentment, to be grateful for what you have and content with what you have. And what a perfect way to express that than with the 10th commandment.
Right. I always say, and we've talked about this before, but I always say that I have everything I need and nothing that I don't, and I like that saying just because it reminds me that everything that I have in life is a blessing that I have from God, you know, and that the struggles you walk through, I'm still a very blessed man. You know what I mean? I have a wonderful, wonderful church, a wonderful, place to work, a wonderful home and kids and a wife. And it's like, no matter how hard things are, you can just say, I'm blessed. I'm blessed for my health. No matter what happens, you can always be grateful and show gratitude to what God has given you in life.
Yes. And that's really when you look at this, that's what they're leading us to.
Right.
When you realize that the no is really just a way of showing us the warning light
Mhm.
of what you should avoid in order to enjoy the good thing
Right.
that we're saying yes to in the middle of that. I don't think we've ever talked about this before, but it's if we have, it's worth repeating. If you think about the Garden of Eden as a really good example, and some people think, well, see, there's God just being a, rule giver right there in the very beginning when he said they couldn't eat from the one tree,
Mhm.
right? The tree, there was the forbidden tree
Mhm.
that they couldn't eat from. But if you look at the whole context, it doesn't just say don't eat. Here, this is a tree that I want you to avoid. He says, look, all these trees that I've given you,
Mhm.
enjoy all of them.
Mhm.
There's only one tree in the whole garden that I want you to avoid. Every other tree is fair game. I want you to enjoy the fruit of, this beautiful garden that I've given you. And if that commandment had been do rather than a don't, if God had said, here's the one tree you can eat from,
Mhm.
avoid everything else, that would have felt really restrictive. Like, really, I'm going to get tired of persimmons after a while, whatever the
Right.
fruit, the fruit on that one tree is. Like, 'cause after a while, you can only eat so many peaches, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I wish I could eat some of those bananas and apples and other,
Mhm.
the other things around the garden. But he's saying just the opposite. Enjoy all of these. There's just one
Just one.
that you need to avoid. And so actually don't is way more liberating than if he had just given them one that they could eat from. And the same way when people say, well, how come God has so many don'ts in the Bible? Don't is actually a very liberating way to live. It's God saying, I have so much for you, just avoid this one thing that's going to be harmful to you.
Mhm. Well, and also too, like especially in adult, life, it people who don't keep the 10 commandments, you and the people that do, you tend to kind of, not that the love changes for them, but the space becomes greater, right? Because you don't want that in your life, and you see the destruction that it can have in someone's life, and not that you're spacing or making a space from them, but you're just saying like that's kind of what happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's what happens when we don't live up to what our full potential, and the plans that God does have for us. We can add a lot of destruction into our lives.
You could take any one of these commandments and play them out and say you can see the end result of a life that neglects that commandment. The reality is Jesus made it clear, though, that we all break all the commandments.
Yes, we do.
So there's two groups of people. There are those who keep the 10 commandments and those who don't. And guess what? All of us are in that second group. There's nobody in the first group. And Jesus wanted to make that clear. Like it says, don't kill. But I say, if you're angry, you've done it. He says, don't commit adultery. But if
you lust,
you've done it.
You've done it.
And Jesus basically made the point that all of us are rule breakers when it comes to it.
Right.
And so what God is showing us is he's showing us his aspirations for us. This is what I long for in you, and this is what I'm also trying to correct.
Right.
That's kind of built into the human condition.
Right.
And so it becomes this really great yes of what this is what we're aspiring to. This is what we're hoping to. And that really leads me to where I've been teasing all along. I talked about how the commands can actually turn into promises. And I am really indebted to a guy named Colin Smith, who was an author and a pastor in the Chicago area. And he wrote a number of books and is also Scottish. And so he has this great accent. just listening to him was like just the easiest thing ever because he has this great accent. Even though he's an American pastor, he's from Scotland. And anyway, he made this. He wrote about this, and it just has always stuck with me. And that is the commandments can also be read as promises. And this is where our conversation sort of gets intriguing, I think. The Hebrew wording of the 10 Commandments can be understood that they're also not just commandments that we abide by now, but they're also kind of future realities. And so when he says you shall, and shall is sort of like a future tense, you shall not murder. It's a promise for us, that you're going to live a life that now you, because of what has happened, you shall not murder. And because of what I've done in your life, you shall not steal. And if you imagine someone who was convicted of theft, and it was serious enough that they spent some prison time, and they got out, and I think Colin Smith tells a story about this guy who was convicted of theft, spent some time in prison, got out, immediately wanted to make his life right.
Mm-hmm.
And so he went to church, and he got to church, and they had the 10 Commandments written on the wall. And he looks over it, and his eye falls on the commandment, you shall not steal. And he immediately felt condemned.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, see, I come to church, and right away, the judgment has, I feel like I did my time, and yet there's just this reminder of my great failure.
Mm-hmm.
And then as he sat there, he looked at it again, and he realized he saw it not as a commandment, but he saw it as a promise.
Mm.
You shall not steal. As if God is saying to him, I'm setting you free from that. I'm liberating you from that. This is a promise for your life. You shall not steal.
Yeah.
And I thought that's such a good way to think about it. This you shall not bear false witness. These are promises of transformation of what God says. Here's what I'm going to do for you. This is how this is a promise that I have for your life, that you can live this way. So it's not like you don't lie. It's like, well, you better stop lying. But it's the idea as God's grace works in you, you can become the kind of person who lives in the truth.
Mm-hmm.
It's a promise. And it's not just, try harder not to covet, but you shall be content.
Yeah.
It's this promise.
Mm.
And I love thinking about it that way, is to realize the 10 Commandments are not only guide rails and protections for us now, but they're sort of this picture of what God is making us into, of what he's transforming us to.
Yeah, very, very true. Oh, that is good. Yeah, that shook me to my core right there. That is good. I don't think I've ever heard it that way before.
I know. And to me, when I read that, I was like, that is so powerful.
Yes, it is. Well, it just once again just reiterates the love that God has for us. He set these promises for us that we can live through and see so much greatness from, and then also on top of that, he's we fall short, and we continue to fall short. Even back in the garden, like we continue to fall short, and then he sends Jesus for us to set another path for us to make it back to heaven. And it's just like, once again, he's just reiterating the love that he has for us, time and time again. Yeah,
to keep us from throwing the gutter ball.
Exactly.
Yeah, keep us out of the gutter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So when you start to think about it this way, you realize that the life with God is not just, behavior management.
Yes.
It's not about us just simply modifying how we behave and always, being a good person.
Right.
It's really about God transforming us, his promise to change us from the inside out. And suddenly the 10 Commandments become this beautiful picture of the promise that he has for our lives. This is the person I'm making you into.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the person you're becoming.
Right.
And that's why turning commands into promises is kind of the title of this podcast, this episode. And the thing that I think is really helpful for us when we fall into the pattern of seeing the Bible and God is just simply a bunch of do's and don'ts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
very much so.
So perhaps, some of our listeners or viewers have friends that think about it that way. And I encourage you to share these concepts with them, when and if the time is right, to find a way to kind of give them a new view, a new perspective on God and his instructions to us. Perhaps some of our listeners and viewers tempted to think about it that way for themselves too. Mm-hmm. That they've fallen into some patterns. Easy to do. for us to sort of just turn it into, oh man, I've just got to be a good person, do all the right things, which after a while just gets bland and boring and impossible.
Mm-hmm.
You just can't keep doing that forever. Instead, to see it as these promises that God has for us, that, as you talked about, it's this covenant, it's this relationship, it's these guardrails, these protective fences that He puts there for our lives. But more than that, it's the promises of the transformation that He is at work doing in us along the way.
Right. We're not done, in this Christian, walk with Christ. Like we're never done. The things that hold us back, or the struggles that happen in our lives, and like you said, like it can happen pretty quickly, but God's not done with us. He's always working on our hearts and always there for us, and so we can waver, but He never does.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. Well, hopefully this has been a helpful conversation to those who have been kind of a part of our discussion today. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for our viewers and our listeners who've been a part of this. We do invite listeners' questions. We didn't have any after Cindy. Cindy just said it so clearly and so well.
I mean,
it was like, well, nothing more to say or ask. I mean, it was just definitively there. We did get some nice comments though from people enjoying it along the way. But if you have some questions or comments, you can always attach them to the YouTube video.
Sure. Yeah.
Just let us know. Put it in there. We'll do our best to answer them. It helps us if you actually engage with us, even if you just have a comment to make, or if you like it or you subscribe. All of that helps get the word out on our YouTube video. If you're listening to a podcast in the different formats that it comes in, just send us an email at unhurriedpodcast@gmail.com. And we always look at those, and we'll get back to you too on that as well.
For sure. And look ahead for Cindy's own podcast.
Cindy's new podcast.
Soon.
I think Cindy and Amanda are going to be doing one. That would be great.
That would be fun.
Just have the two of them take over.
We should. We
Yes.
should. We
Yeah.
should. And then we won't have one anymore.
Yeah, we won't have a job, but it'll be great. It'll be good. Yeah. Yeah, that would be. I think Cindy kind of said that when I sprung that on her last week because you were under the weather, and then Andrew was not feeling great either. So I was like, last minute, hey Cindy, what do you think? And I think she was like, well, can Amanda join me? That would have made it easier. But that would be fun.
That would be fun.
All right. Well, thank you, Ryan,
thank you, Doug.
Thank you, Vera Ryan Montes, for your participation. Thank you to our enthusiastic viewers and listeners. Until next time, you've been listening to Unhurried with Doug Kyle, or you've been watching it, and I look forward to talking soon.